Look, every
I
time
can't.
we get look, every
Oh,
time we try to put in some music, Janina's playlist, YouTube keeps sending me some shit like, don't y'all dare monetize this shit, okay? So
I mean, we never
yeah,
do, so what's the fucking problem?
I'm just saying,
oh, that was
you just
wonderful.
gotta roll with it for now.
Hmm.
So, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good day. I did not post the link, so I know people are waiting for us, and I know they expect us to be late. And for once, we're on time.
I mean, except you're late with the link, so keeping with the tradition.
Right. Well, that was not my job. That was
Oh
Janina's
my.
job.
Oh, no, we're not going to discuss jobs, honey. You're the boss. That means that you have to decide how everything flows, and you drop the ball. So it comes back to
Speaking
you.
like a true boss that she is, hello, Andreen.
I don't like this.
Yeah, buddy.
That's not how it works. I
Uh,
found it. I've got it.
Mm-mm-mm.
Y'all trying to play me.
this is how life works. How are you
That's
feeling?
right.
Yeah, are you feeling
So, good day, good
attacked?
evening, good night, and good morning, and welcome to another exciting episode of Reels Tennis Podcast. We have been away for far too long, and y'all don't even need to ask. It's Janina's fault. That's just it is what it is. You don't need to go into very much specific, but it's just Janina's fault. Blame foreign Ohio. I mean, like any excuse you want to put, you can do that. So
I hate you
it's all right. She tells me this every day, so
every day.
don't think it means anything. So if people joining the live at this point, they might be, missing the introduction, but here we are. Ladies, good day, good night, good morning. I haven't seen. I
Hello.
mean, we talk all the time. I mean, let's not kid ourselves, but we don't talk, like
Tennis.
this. So let me introduce you, to the world. And first of all, we have Andreen from Solely Tennis Travel.
Wait, am I trapped in the 40s? I don't really get what's going on there.
You know what this sounds like? I mean, this is like old school
Yeah,
Shaw
old.
Brothers martial arts movie.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it also sounds like I'm about to get one of those reels that starts beeping, beep beep beep, news reels from World War II.
Yes.
Hello.
Let's hope we don't get one of those newsreels, because we'll be in a lot of trouble.
hmm
How are you doing, Andre?
Very good. I'm having my cup of coffee and I'm ready to talk dirty tennis.
Yes. And for the fans, just so you know, Andreen was on the East Coast. I saw her. She took me to see Lion King. I mean, it's a good thing the tickets were free because I would have want my money back. And she took me to see Macbeth, which covered a multitude of sins. I
Yes,
mean,
it
like,
did.
I should have paid her
Yes.
to take me along. So that was fun.
Mhm.
So, and she took me to a fancy swanky, bar, grill, whatever, where, I mean, the potions were really big. I was trying to get my supervisor who was leaving to take us there because she offered to pay, but homegirl realized bitch was on a budget. And she took us to a pizza party kind of thing. And, we had to pay. But then eventually she said, no, you can cover it. The
Oh,
food was all right. But,
next time, tell her to call me. I know how to treat people.
I know, right? But hey, I won't tell you the obvious difference, but not for not this kind of podcast. And we have from Foreign Ohio, we have Janina. I mean, that's what you get,
You know
Janina.
what? You're an asshole. All day, every fucking day.
It is true.
Don't ever
It
forget
is
it.
true.
I
It is
know.
true. How are you doing?
Wah, wah, wah.
Well, you see, I
I'm
was right.
good.
I'm not being an asshole. I just can read the room.
Oh, God. I can't with you. I'm good. I'm good.
You sure your
Getting
kid is
ready
on
for a
vacation
very
coming up
busy
soon?
week.
The kid is on
I have
vacation and you
what?
can't get rid of him.
True.
He's on vacation now. So what you gonna
Yeah.
do?
I'm sending him off next week
It better
for
not
a
be to New
week.
York, okay?
No, that's the week after. Get ready. Get ready, Uncle Reels.
And we have Zenobia in the chat. Do I know other people are listening away from? I know not in the chat. Zenobia, how are you doing? And of course, there is Reels. We're here. So Andreen said, and once on what Andreen says is the law, um, that we should keep to a nice tight 90 minutes. And we were on time today. So we started at 12 on the dot. So at 1:30, the lights are cutting off. Con Ed is coming to unplug this shit. So
Mm.
just letting you know. So if there are any questions or concerns you have, put them in the chat, DM us, or it's somewhere, on the Twitter sphere.
Hey, let me in the other chat, please.
You are already in the chat. I don't know what you
I
mean.
mean, yeah. Okay. I'm switching out platforms.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, that's close to Nina being extra.
I get to
I
be
get to
here
be here
twice.
twice.
And we can hear you twice. That's the problem.
I'm leaving.
So let's remove.
We're good.
Okay,
We're good.
we're good now. Awesome. I was about to
Okay.
kick you out.
Thank you.
So, where do we start in this mess and madness? I mean,
Fabulous. Fabulous.
let me just get one thing out of the way. Kim has gone again. So
Oh,
we didn't know
wait,
she
wait. She
came,
retired again?
but
She still
apparently
retired? Okay.
she said she realized the game that the girls don't give a shit about what you got going on. And I think she imagined that she was gonna come back and meet Serena some way and get herself to so Serena be giving these fire sale finals. And Kim said, why not get another major? Right? Let me avenge that Australian Open loss, which still hurts. And little people remember this is back in the day before tennis was invented, 2002.
Mhm,
Venus had abdominal tear, and she beat
mhm.
Kim Clijsters in the Wimbledon semifinals. So,
So injuries did increase the likelihood of greatness in one's performance, even back then.
Venus got her ass kicked in the finals. So, I mean, and a rain delay helped Venus. So she got. Her stomach was corseted. Like she couldn't even sneeze. So she played like she had an injury.
Mm.
But grass was never Kim's favorite surface, as you all know. She let Bartoli snatch that away. 2007. But hey, so that's out of the way. And speaking of retirement, should we start in WTA?
Sure.
Barty retired. And this is legit retired. This is not like going to play cricket
We'll
or
see.
whatever.
I don't feel like it's been long enough yet for it to be legit.
She
We'll
I
said
think
see.
she seemed bored enough for it to be legitimate.
I mean,
Literally, she looked around and said,
Okay, let's
"This is
just take
good."
a moment
Mhm.
and see how much we need to talk about this by asking the question, do you miss her?
Do I miss Barty?
Correct.
You know what? No. And I know that people like the idea of a stable champion, but I think what they forgot was I wanted a stable, dynamic champion.
yeah, but you didn't say that though in the beginning. You see, that's the problem. You
No, I
just
never
said you
said
wanted
any.
a
I
stable
didn't. I no.
champion.
See, I was never one to preach WTA stability. I like a ruckus, and if you're gonna have, an ATP that is basically the same, I liked the contrast of the WTA tossing us new champions every week and convincing us this new person is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I like that. That's
You're
my
crazy.
jam.
To be
That's
honest
my
with you,
jam.
to be
Crazy.
honest with you, WTA wasn't saying that. WTA ain't saying nothing about any of their champions. It's
They
people
did.
on the
They were telling me.
Twitterverse saying that,
Oh, they were
saying
telling
all
me
these
that
things.
Vardy was stabilizing. It was so great to see a champion that was all surface champ, who was stabilizing the tour, who was giving someone to reach for. But why do we miss Barty when we have Swiatek right there?
Oh boy.
I mean,
Well,
yes, the new
I
number
don't miss
one, Iga
Barty.
Swiatek.
I
Wait,
don't know if I enjoy Swantek.
Svantek.
Swantek.
Mm-hmm.
Iga.
It's Iga.
I mean,
Iga.
I don't know. She has to grow on me. I don't know what I think of her yet. That's the truth. I just don't know because,
Her tennis doesn't do it enough for you.
mm, she doesn't do it enough for me.
I know that. Did you notice? I separated it. I said her tennis. I separated. I was like, we must separate the person from their tennis. That's the lesson the world is telling us. Separate the person from their deeds.
Yeah, I mean, her tennis is okay. I mean, but I mean, actually, I mean, I think she has become more consistent, right? Because
Yep.
ever
Stroke
since she won the
production and
French
all.
Open, she would look cute and sexy in the first week,
And looking
very solid,
unstoppable.
run through the draw. And then that round of 16 quarterfinals hit. And then Iga is like, first matchup, she's gone. You didn't even notice. Wait. Iga played already? Yes, Iga is home.
45
She's
minutes.
back to Poland on a plane to Poland, right? But she looks like she's ready for things. But it's just the clay season, right?
No, on the hard as well.
I mean, Miami, whatever.
She's kind of dominating everything.
Yeah,
She hasn't
she's
lost in
dominating.
like 36 or 37
I
matches.
mean,
Wait, remind me, who won the Oz Open?
No clue.
Body. That's
Oh
who
yes,
won the
yes.
US
Oh
Open.
yes. There you go. See, sorry. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a legitimate streak. We can't
She
judge it.
won Rome and she won the
Yes,
French Open, luckily.
exactly. Look at that. So
Usually
Serena
Rome
can't
is a
even-
blight for the WTA.
She's building on her talents.
She's building. No, Rome is a blight for the ATP.
Yeah, no. But no, I think Swiatek is the legitimate. I mean, my sense of her though is I don't want her rise to be necessarily the only thing that's noteworthy on the WTA side. Because if you looked at the sort of storyline that was primed for Roland Garros, it was just her streak, nothing else. There was no other storyline on the WTA side.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is the only thing that you're hoping to compel me. That's just not going to work. I'm not sitting here waiting to see how many number of matches this person's going to win. But, I do appreciate the pairing of her with Rafa as a sort of ideal, I guess, or whatever the heck that is. But I do have to refer to Bridge P, our favorite absent podcast co-host of sorts in the past. Bridge P saying that, is it okay for WTA champions to recognize that other WTA champions have existed? Why is their model the male player?
Hey.
True story.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want her to say that she wants to be the new Chrissy Everett, but truth be told, Chrissy's was pretty ruthless on clay, no?
Yep. I mean, and Monica, I mean, like in living memory. I mean, if you want to pretend like you don't know who Chrissy is, like she used to play tennis. I just know she was talking all the time. I mean, Monica had these Arancha, and Arancha has always got some comment somewhere. So you know what I mean? Like it's a thing. And I mean, even Kucheva, she
poor thing,
had.
though.
I
barely
mean,
recognized her. We're like, where did she go?
Yeah, she got fluffed out in the first round. I mean,
but you know what? I'll just say, I'll give Swiatek this. The improvement from the mental side, the therapist on tour, has been wonderful. Whatever that electronic machine that she has hooked up to her brain that we saw on TV, whatever that's doing, it's better than what she was doing in at the WTA finals. I mean, she was really a mess. She looked like she was close to tears every 10 minutes. And she was quickly
in
Guadalajara. She was set packing and she looked very fragile, which is something I keep in mind when I see her rise, both in terms of great, look how far she's come, and also knowing that we can easily get her back there and probably make the tour more fun again. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's a little bit of a faltering so that maybe someone else can burst through.
That's true. While we're here, so she's the new number one, and
by miles, honey. She's already qualified, I think, for the
she's doing
finals.
some fucking ATP shit, man.
I mean,
got triple the points or some crazy
Yeah.
I
stuff.
mean, Serena back in the day was, doing this.
She's the
But
new
I just
Serena.
wanted
All right.
to. What's
Sorry.
that?
Andreen, go sit in the naughty chair.
What did you say?
Nothing.
The
She
new-
said nothing.
But I
She's
just
the new
want y'all to
Serena.
know. So this is the WTA top 10.
Mhm.
And I know it's math, and I'm pretty good at math. But I
Yeah.
still need someone to explain simple arithmetic to me, right? So
Sure.
Schwantek is at 8,600, right?
Mhm.
Kontaveit, Annette Kontaveit is at number 2 with 43.26. Then
Wow.
Paula Badosa, right?
Told you.
42.45. Then Ons Jabeur at number 4 with 41.50. Sakari is at 5, 40.16. Sabalenka, 39.66. She just got bageled in wherever they were playing. I don't know
I think it's
how
Hockenbosch, right? I love
Kapliska,
that. Mhm.
Kopiska, whatever her name is, the
Koplis.
one who makes money.
Yep.
She's number 7. I don't think this girl has won 2 matches in a row all year. And I mean, not just the calendar year. I'm
And that,
literally
my
talking
friend,
about the last
that is
12
the state
months.
of the WTA.
I mean, she got to
Stop
the final.
it. There's no
Listen to
state
me.
of the WTA. This is just
If
and that's
Kapil-
the problem.
If Karolina Pliskova do not get back to the finals of Wimbledon,
Oh yeah.
homegirl going to be in the boonies. She's going to play in qualies for qualies.
No, right? Because I don't know. What does it mean when they're not earning points? So what? She just loses.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, well,
See, even that.
oh, it's
that
only on
is
the
a consequence.
ATP side. Oh, no, it's everybody. The whole
Yeah.
tournament, right?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a joint agreement.
All right, then. There
They
we
got
go.
together.
So Pliskova is going to be playing WTA 125 come September. She's going to be there. She got to qualify for the US Open. Then Pegula is number 8.
Yep.
Danielle Collins is number 9. And Gabin Muguruza is number 10.
But
I
if
mean,
you flipped it in terms of who has the most personality, in the reverse, it works perfectly.
I
Start
mean,
from 10, go to 1. That's what you want to
I
see.
mean, that's kind of true. But we have and some the more interesting people I think are outside of the top 10. Emma Raducanu is number 11.
Wow. Just so close.
Kazatkina is number 12. I mean, yeah, because and mind you know how many points she get? 29.75. So if she don't defend this US Open, okay, and I'm sure this 975 is from Wimbledon. Okay?
But you know what too? In some ways the ranking points are kind of generous for everybody, right? At this point.
Right.
Because
I don't know how
look at it. The parity between 2 and the rest means that there's just room for so much movement. I mean, just putting aside Swiatek, which we should always do, you could now just look at the WTA beneath number 1 as where the battle is. It's like there's no clear favorite out there.
Right. And then so number 13 is Kazatkina is number 12. Coco Gauff.
Look at
Got to the French Open. She went up 10 spots.
Wow.
She is number 13. Krejcikova fell 12 spots.
Yeah.
And is number 14. Leila Fernandez is number 15. Ostapenko. And somebody, no, you got to explain this math to me. Ostapenko is 16?
Well, remember Ostapenko had a really nice start to the year, a really great run, and then at Indian
Where? Out on the park?
Early in the beginning.
Run where?
She had a nice lead. She had a nice set of tournament wins before Indian Wells in March. And so, I mean, which is why everyone expected her to do things at Indian Wells, and it didn't come to fruition. But listen, if someone else is taking all the points, okay, then it's slim.
I mean, okay, I get that. Tony is asking who is Pliskova, and I agree. I'm just like, I don't even know how she is in any top 10 but mess. Like, she is losing spectacular to matches. I think the French Open match that she actually won this, she was supposed to lose it.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll tell you the rest because it gets even more interesting. Mm-hmm. So 17 is Bencic, 18 is Kerber. Again, I don't know how this math is mathing. Azarenka is number 19. Simona Halep is number 20. Look, I mean, I don't
Listen,
know.
you can't critique any of that. Let me think. What I think is so amazing about that. Listen, I know you're focused on the math, which is its own thing, and
Mhm.
also it's hard for me because I can't quite tell what's going on with the frozen points, the points that Wimbledon's not going to give, and all of that. So we'll have to sort of take a look at that after. But every single person that you've just named on the top 20
Mhm.
has the opportunity to win a slam this year. That's what is the WTA's brand. I think this notion of stability on the WTA side is silly. What you know is the parity is such that any one of them can turn their attention to it. Garbine could turn her attention to grass and decide, I think I want to do well this Wimbledon and snatch a title. Anyone in the
Fair
top 20
enough.
you
Fair
mentioned,
enough.
right? Like that's what's interesting about the
Except
WTA is that they
Kontaveit.
have, except Kontaveit. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yes,
Yeah.
Kontaveit somehow really falls
She
right at
would.
the
I
trip right
mean, she would
over
do
at the
all the
end.
work to get to and do even work harder to lose. I mean,
Uh-oh.
it's
I'll
just
make a case for it. I mean, since I'm the solely traveler person, she's such a pleasure to watch live. But
She
yes,
really is.
whatever she can do to figure out how to get over that mental hump, that
Nigel Sears. Leave him wherever he is.
oh
Oh,
my
is she
god,
with him now?
she's
I
moved
think
on from the
Dimitrov?
Dimitrov, I think. So she's moved to the guy that's gonna make her have an eating disorder.
Yeah, that's sad.
Dimitrov.
But you're right. No. Dimitrov
Dimitrov.
was with her before. Andrine's saying she's with Sears now.
No, that's what somebody asked me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
someone was asking, is it Nigel Sears? I hope that, but I know that she did. I did see an announcement that he was moving on from coaching her. I saw it on Twitter.
Oh,
She no longer
Well,
is with the Russian.
mm, she was
So
doing well with him. I wonder what happened. Nobody
I
seems to
mean,
stay with him long. What's his deal?
well, he
He's
gets them
almost like
there. He gets them there, right? Because that's what he did to Sabalenka. He gets them to the almost to the finishing line, but they can't get over it. I don't know what it is there.
Y'all are saying Dimitrov. You mean Tursunov?
Tursunov, yes,
oh yeah, oopsie.
Tursunov, yeah, Tursunov.
I was just like Dimitrov. He's still playing. He needs a coach.
Dimitri.
Dimitri
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tursunov.
That's
Dimitri
what
Yeah.
we're getting
Tursunov.
hung up on. Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. So the
Zenobe, it's
WTA
not that we
top
have
10.
hope in Muggs. We just know that Muggs is capable. But Tony is right. As we've said, Venus and Serena are not in the draw. So Muggs doesn't have motivation to do
But
anything.
you know what? I understand that. I understand that from
But I
Muggs.
mean,
Are you going to be motivated looking around and saying, "I really get to beat Swiatek"? Although, no, that's probably
it does say something, like I beat Venus and Serena for my majors, as opposed to I beat Daniel Collins. I mean, it doesn't. It's a different thing. And I mean, no tea, no shade. But I mean, it's just how these things are weighed.
Mm.
or you beat up on poor Coco in our first final.
I
But
mean,
but fewer careers have been built on many careers have been built on less. So I say
and Gabin gets Venus did take her to a tiebreak. So I
So.
mean, Serena, I don't know what you were doing in that French Open, girl, but it wasn't playing tennis. The fire sale started early back in 2016. You don't want to have that, and you give Angie that title in
Um,
2016. So
I'm seeing
you
a
were giving her.
comment in the chat that Tursunov had travel issues, which with the Russian passport, probably I guess right now is a little bit tricky. You know what? Nobody has talked about that on the coaching side. Would love to talk about that when we eventually come back around to Wimbledon and the post Wimbledon follow up with the politics, because apparently RG was decided to be completely apolitical. So we'll save the politics for Wimbledon, I suppose.
We ready to
But
get into that?
no. So
No? Okay.
well, we will. We're about to. That was my transition, Rails. How do you like it?
Well, I wanted to just go back one step backwards, and just simply say, in nods to Deb, who's not here today, her baby girl, Coco, got to the finals of the French singles and doubles. She didn't snatch a trophy, but,
Oh, but
and everyone was.
we're not gonna hit that yet. We're gonna hit the peak first. We're gonna hit the peak.
I'm gonna talk
first.
about Coco.
But I don't understand. We don't want to talk about Coco. Or we want
No.
to talk about
I
Coco?
said I want to talk about Coco.
No, she
I want to
wasn't
talk about what Coco did for me.
What did Coco do?
Because I
for
have
you?
felt really disconnected from tennis. It's not been interesting to me. And it was so fun watching her on that run and watch how she handled herself in every moment. You guys know that, I watch a match, it happens, I move on.
Yep.
Even if I'm emotionally invested, I'm not overly emotionally invested. Coco made me cry.
When?
in the final
Okay.
when she lost, and just her outpouring of emotion. I could see the whole match she was frustrated, and that's fine. This is her first time in a major final. Your time is coming. But she was just the release at the end, and she's on the sideline and she's crying, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh." And I was sad that she didn't lose, but I was so happy that she was there, and I was excited for tennis, and I just was like out of nowhere emotional, and I'm like, "Baby girl, it's okay." It's okay. But I was really surprised because honestly, I don't remember the last time I cried over sport. It's been years. So I am really, really, really excited to have somebody that's able to move me that way emotionally when my faves are old and broken and maybe never coming back. It's
And don't
so
show up. That's
fun
what your
and
faves
don't
are. They're
show up.
not. They don't show
But
up.
it's so fun to think that there truly is somebody who I am looking forward to. I've latched on to a couple of the young guys, but nothing has moved me like this, and I was just like, praise the Lord, because I was really wondering if I was done with tennis. True story.
That's
You're
a
not
fair
looking for
point. Oh,
Paola Bedosa or
no.
Paula.
But you know what? I mean, that's a really. But can I just also say the thing about Coco's run though is how it was like a sneak attack by Coco.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone see her coming?
Mm-mm.
Did anyone
Well,
anticipate this
I
sudden
mean,
like
yeah,
run?
I
I mean,
think I
it
think
was a
I
nice
did.
draw for her, but did
I
anyone
th-
really see her overwhelming her own kind of incapacities at time and just kind of get out of her own way and make it to this final? It felt soon. I mean, it felt people are like it's right on time, but also it felt like it came out of nowhere for me.
well, I mean, like she had been here before, so the experience of playing well at the French, she got to the quarters last year.
Hmm.
I think there was also for me the fact that that people didn't show up, and even if they did show up, they weren't playing great.
Yeah,
So
mentally.
mentally, they just weren't present. So I think for me, she was like, she was in her own thing. She
She
did the
moves
job.
really well on clay. She looks
She
good
was,
on
I'm minding
clay.
my business. I'm not concerned who's
Also,
not
she
here.
wasn't playing excellent and got to the final, which I think
Yeah.
bodes
Right.
well for somebody like
Exactly.
If
that.
she could have got that serve under control, holy
Free
shit.
points, baby. Free points here and there.
Yeah, and I think
Sure,
that
her time will come though. I
but
mean,
I
she's
I love the development. I love the fact that like everyone was like, I think the narrative when Emma won last year, like, oh, Coco should feel some type of way and all this drama, like, oh, Emma, and it's just like, boo, the race is not for the swift, it's for the ever enduring. Tennis is taking your time, get in there. And I'm happy. And because this year people were like, oh, she shouldn't be with her parents. Maybe it's time to get
Oh,
rid
they
of her
always
parents.
start with the parent stuff.
yeah.
She
You know
is
what I
doing
like
very
about
well for where she is in the world in terms of her ranking. I don't understand why people always start going for the parents. They don't seem that
well, you
over
know what I like
involved.
about her parents, regardless of them being coaches, they're athletes.
Yeah,
They
that's true.
understand. And she's so young. So I think it's probably good for her to have some people close to her because she is so young that she can trust, right? Hopefully we don't find out any crazy stories about her parents, but who understand what it's like to be a professional athlete. I think that's probably so valuable.
And protecting a black athlete, a black
Yes, a
female
Amen.
black
athlete.
female athlete. Yeah.
Amen. I think it's great that her parents are there and that they have a level of understanding of what's happening at this level. I know her mom for sure, but weren't both her parents professional athletes?
Yeah.
I think both. Um, but her being, I think that's probably invaluable
And
and
they have
much
her
needed.
grounded. What I love is that she's not here, there, and everywhere. It's like she's still a child. She acts like a teenager. She graduated high school.
I
She's
know.
having a good time. She had an amazing graduation week. If only I could. I mean, like, I'm
Did
not
you?
taking away the trophy, but the check still looks good, and the check is clearing. Okay, so I'm not mad at that. But I have to say, there's one thing that really struck me about that encapsulates, what tennis is and Coco, and just the unique being she is and everything. I don't remember which match it was. But she had an encounter with the umpire, and the umpire said to her, "There's a
Yeah.
woman with the fish lips." She was just
Yes.
like, you know, I'm giving you a coaching warning. And Coco was just like, "Okay, girl, but what am I being warned for?" And she said, like, signal. I just like watch the thing. She's like, "Girl, we ain't got no signal. But what do you want me to tell him?" She's just like, "We'll talk about it later." And she's just like, "No, we can't talk about this later because later is that you're gonna find me again."
Hmm.
You're saying that there is coaching going on, but you can't articulate to me what it is that's going on here. And neither the umpire nor the commentators understood what was actually going on here. And Coco was
Well,
absolutely right. Because the thing is that if tennis keeps saying these kind of things about illegal coaching and whatever, and it's again, we have this other situation where usually when you go after the men, they entertain some raucous and bad behavior. In fact, last time I saw Stefanos was just like, well, he's doing it too.
Yeah.
His people are doing it too, and the comments just like, yeah, that happens. But Coco was just like, my father and I do not have any hand signals. You're saying that there was hand signals, but you can't say what it is these hand signals are, and you want us to have this discussion later when you are
But
currently penalizing me right now in this moment.
here's the problem with that. It wasn't a problem. I shouldn't start by saying that. Coco handled herself brilliantly. People should fucking
Exactly.
take notes and watch. But I think the breakdown there, I saw that live. I was watching it and I understood what Coco was saying. Absolutely. Tell me what he's doing. What should I tell him? What I wanted so bad, which would have shut it all down, and the umpire would have had to either been very clear or just moved on, and this point never came. I wanted Coco to say, show me what he's doing, not tell me what to tell him, because that's what she meant. She wanted the umpire to say, tell me exactly what he's doing, but she never got quite there, and that would have shut it down. Like if the umpire is saying you're doing hand signals, Coco should have said, show me the hand signal so I can tell him to stop that because the chair thinks that you're coaching me. And it never got to that point, and that would have taken care of it. But it was bullshit. It was
Well, maybe they're
bullshit.
going to do a behind the scenes like they did at the Australian Open and find the coaching signals like they did with Stefano. So, Coco, be on the lookout. You might be on hidden camera when they try to figure
Yeah,
out
but
what is that mysterious
but
signal
this is
that
the
your
thing that I
father is
don't think
passing.
that. But I don't think players need to be quote unquote even articulate and whatever. If you saying I did something wrong,
You should tell me.
you should tell me exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It can't be an ambiguous thing. I
Right.
suspect you are doing something, you know what I mean? Whatever.
Which is why I wanted
Because
her
you
to
are
say, show me
calling a
exactly
rule.
what he was doing.
Yeah, but again, the umpire should have understood that right away and been like, he's doing X, Y, and Z.
Well, you know what?
Because
But you know what?
because the
That's
thing about the umpire
probably
is that the umpire didn't want to engage with the conversation. She kept saying, we can have this discussion later. And Coco is just
Well,
like,
and you know
but
what was
we
really
can't have this
interesting?
discussion later.
You know what was really interesting? Coco actually said, we don't have hand signals.
Yeah,
And she
exactly.
said, listen, she said, I know you don't, but she said that. She said, I know you don't, but
appearances. But you know what? I think what this suggests to me is that when you're giving a particular warning, you should actually say what it is for and what part of the rules demonstrates it, like
Exactly.
justifies it. So rule number 1, 2, 4, 5, blah, no coaching signals, blah 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 blah, done here. Do you know what I mean? But usually if you're not able to call it out as specifically as that, it feels like it's at
some
the whim
bullshit.
and the discretion of the person.
And
It
not
would
only
be
that,
interesting
it
if they
changes the
actually
tenure
tied
of
it.
the match, right?
It
We
can.
have these issues all the time with tennis, right? Where the
Yeah.
umpire inserts himself into the thing. They say something, they do something, change the whole tenure of the whole match. And then we're like, oh, well, it balances out somehow. Like he can't count it. And it's just like tennis
And then
is
you judge the
2022.
player based on their reaction to
Exactly.
the interruption, which is like, well, if you don't know how to deal with an umpire interrupting you, then you get judged harshly by fans.
Right.
I mean, the good thing for Coco, because she knew she was going to be judged, is that she was plain speaking and kept a level tone, which everyone really celebrated.
And put it back on the umpire.
Yes.
Like, girl, you said this to me.
So this didn't mar.
Take your whole chest.
So this didn't mar her run though.
No,
so
not at all.
this
No,
didn't
no,
mar the run for you.
but I thought that it encapsulates, just like how, like, I don't want to even put race into it, but, the frustration at times where players are constantly put in this position and the tennis establishment cannot
Doesn't have
justify
to
itself for the
defend it.
behavior it's taken, right? Because had it been another player, that would have taken it to another level. And
Or
the players are
the
actually
player had
correct.
gotten angry, if the player had gotten
Right.
angry or had an inappropriate reaction. So in the end, what you have is the official for whom the burden of proof should really be on is usually let off the hook, and the player then gets to be savage
Right.
based
And then
on how
everybody is
well
saying,
they manage it. Yeah.
exactly. But even if the umpire were wrong, you
Yep.
needed to do
You still
better.
need to suffer
It's just like-
quietly.
Exactly. like how? Exactly. Because what she was saying is just that I don't want this to happen again.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fair.
You know,
But accountability is what we're looking for from the umpire side, which is you have to be accountable to us about what you're stopping a player from doing in a match so that the person is clear and we are also clear about why you're interrupting in this moment.
and we know that you are justified in doing this. You know what I mean? This isn't like some arbitrary shit you're gonna pull out of you, like remember the one time they wanted Opelka to wear a hat with bird shit on it, and just like and it's just like what? Like, but it's funny, that they could point to that rule. He could point to that obscure rule and say you can't change your hat. You gotta go get another one in there and hold up play. Right, you gotta play with the bird shit hat, and it's just like tennis. We can't take you seriously because you don't take yourself seriously.
Well, that's clear.
But anyway, moving on. So, what I want to know at the French Open, I think I have it listed as coaches, corners, and whatever. But I think should Felix fire Uncle Tony?
I mean, Felix might want to fire Uncle Tony only because Uncle Tony said, "I hope Rafa wins." When they played each other.
But I'm going for you. You see. Okay, you're right. I mean, like, I think I'm indifferent to Felix. I want to hang, but I don't think Felix
Why are you indifferent to Felix? Let's just talk about that plainly. Let's just call it out. Why are you indifferent to Felix? What doesn't he do for you? And then we can move on to Tony.
I mean, this might not mean, like how people feel about Kamala?
Yes.
It's a certain vibe, but because Felix sometimes wants us to be cool de la like there, but he ain't there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I mean,
He's not black enough for you? Is that what you're
No, that's not it. That's not it. It's not that. It's that
Oh.
Felix sometimes wants to be dabble in and out of, whatever. But
in and out of what, babe?
Just in and out of coolness. Like he got
Okay.
no juice.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If that makes
Say
any
it.
sense.
Okay.
He got no juice.
All right. That's what I want you to do. I want you to
Right.
say it with your
And
chest,
putting that aside,
like Uncle Tony did.
yeah. And putting that aside, there are very few times where
on
his
my
tennis
name.
moves me. He's very robotic. There is
Yes.
nothing dynamic, and
Engaging.
every time I feel like it's a very staged event when I see him. I mean, it's like and maybe I don't always like his friends, but that's a whole other conversation. But what I'm gonna say is that he's trying to improve his game, right?
Yes.
And I guess he feels that anxiety, like I am being left behind. I mean, losing 10 finals in a row. I mean, like whatever, right? I mean, and
He probably needs to borrow Frontex sports psychologist.
And the problem is that when you're hanging with Dennis Shapovalov or whatever his name is, and people think he's the cool one, that's a problem.
Oh my God!
That's I just
listen?
take
You know what you're saying. You want him to be the coolest guy in the room with these
cooler than Dennis. At the very least, you gotta be cooler than Dennis.
But he doesn't. No, listen. This Felix is reserved. He doesn't show us much personality
Girl, no, that
off
ain't
the
it.
court.
That ain't it.
No,
that
is.
Ain't it.
Listen, Dennis does. You may not like his personality, but he's trying to give you something. Felix ain't giving you shit.
And so this is the question. Why
So-
aren't you giving us anything, honey?
Well,
What's going
you know,
on?
Yeah.
because maybe he's just there to play tennis and do his job. I
Girl,
mean,
I don't
that's
see that on the
fine.
court.
it may
I
be
don't see that on
boring,
the
but he's
court.
allowed to do that.
I mean, he's obviously allowed to do it, but he's not box office. That's all we're
No,
saying.
Yes.
he's not. But you know what? This mofo took Rafa to 5. Who
So
else
this
did?
is what I'm saying.
is-
So could we
Is
ask
this
that
the
question?
Uncle Tony factor?
So here's the thing.
Yes. So wait, before you
This
make
is
your
what I
point
have a
real,
problem.
you can't
Go ahead.
ask that. You can't ask the question about whether he should get rid of Tony
Mhm.
when Tony did allow him to get to multiple other finals, which he was doing before. I get you, but he's
Mhm.
showing up better in those finals,
Mhm.
and he did take Rafa to 5 and
But
probably
here's
should
the
have won
thing.
that match.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I hear you, and that is the silver lining in your cloud. But my issue is that I giving you cash and you giving me charity. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
And
true.
I know
Wow.
Is
I
that how
don't
you think
care.
Theo Tony feels about him?
No, exactly. Because I
Wow.
do not care if that boy being Rafa Nadal was your uncle, mother, brother, sister, child. I don't care. I was paying you. I am paying you.
To
And
sit
if
in
you
my box, really, to be honest.
exactly right,
To be my coach, to be
this is
honest.
not a favor, okay? Rafa got who I think Mark Lopez,
Yeah.
Carlos Moya. I don't know who he got in the corner,
Both.
Yeah.
but
Both.
he got some Spanish scrub in there, right? That's who allegedly he's paying to water his garden.
Yeah.
And if I am paying you top dollars because Uncle Tony don't look like he come cheap,
No, he
right?
doesn't.
This was not charity. And you went over to Nadal, who got 13 French Open. If at this point you can't help me to win one major, and you go and tell your uncle, your nephew in the 5th set, this is how you handle him, we got problems. I need my money back.
I was thinking about it. I have
Because that's messy.
I
That
mean,
is
I think about it
unprofessional.
as work.
That is
Do you
messy.
see? Do you not see it? I mean, but listen, tennis is insular, right? So obviously, people have relationships all the time. But this was his nephew, who's very fragile, as you can tell, because I feel like every time Rafa loses Roland Garros, he goes home and does things. But this is his nephew, so that's my family, and then this is work. You feel like they haven't had a conversation about how they would manage this, and Tio Tony had expressed exactly what he was going to do?
But my thing is that here's the thing. I can't be paying you top dollars for coaching and you telling me you giving me the bargain basement. You giving me the better brand value of the coaching. Okay? I'm paying you top dollars. If I am going to Uncle Tony, I am not going to Uncle Tony to learn how to collect plate, be playing Rafa. What am I paying
Well,
for?
he got
sir?
close. He was one of the few that actually. I think he's the only one that took Rafa the distance. No,
Sweetie, here's the thing. He's the only one that took Rafa to the distance. One of the few, one of the 3, if I'm not mistaken, right?
that even took him to 5 at the French. Yeah,
Since 2005.
I mean, listen, we're not dealing
Rafa
with
has
fantasies
played
here.
what 4 5-set matches
Yeah,
at Roland Garros since 2005, the first time he showed up.
it's
So we're not
magically
even
delicious.
talking about that.
Mhm.
So I guess y'all could talk about silver lining that way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for me, I am sorry. I got drift. I got scammed.
Well,
Yeah, I
This
mean,
was a
I'm
Ponzi
paying
scheme.
you. I'm paying you to beat. I'm
This was
paying
a
you to help
Ponzi
me beat
scheme.
people, and I'm paying you to help me beat your nephew. I get
Exactly.
you. I get
no,
you.
but here's
That
the
was
thing.
a Ponzi scheme. And I'm
Zenobia is
sorry. We
asking
gonna call the
why.
FBI.
Zenobia is asking why did Felix even hire Uncle Tony? Let's remember that Felix has been training there for a long time. So he is somehow already intertwined in this whole Nadal camp.
Well, isn't that? I mean, but isn't everyone in clay?
I don't know. I have
Well,
no idea who trains at Rafa's Academy, to be honest. I know Felix
Sean-
does.
Shantek and Rude does.
But
Right.
girl,
That's
I
what they
forgot
all
he
do.
exists.
So I think it
Thank
was
you for
awkward.
reminding me.
Yeah.
I think it's awkward anyways for Uncle Tony to be coaching anybody while Rafa's still on tour.
I don't know.
Given
I don't
that
understand that. That's like everyone is a coach. Like, I mean, isn't that
Well,
an
he
es-
was-
is-
did he
isn't that
coach
ex-
anybody before he coached Rafa?
No, but
always been Rafa's.
I know
So
he's
it's
always
weird.
been Rafa's, but
But
listen,
they made a celebrated disengagement.
I feel like it's different. I don't feel like Uncle Tony going to anyone outside of Rafa is the same as Patrick and
Well,
Serena
first and
splitting.
first
I
and
think it's
foremost,
very
you all
different.
are calling him Uncle Tony, so that's the first problem. He's not
Mhm.
Uncle Tony. He's
Because-
actually
but
just
that's-
Tony, right? But that's in your mind, right? But he's a
Because that's what
legitimate.
we've been
he's-
taught.
But he's seen as a legitimate coach. I guess I just think it's weird that we are. I mean, I got it. I saw lots of chatter about it, and I can understand why people are upset. But I think it's just strange to me because he's part of running of the academy, is part of Tony's role. I think he's seen as a coach there. So he's seen as a legitimate individual on his own. And clearly he
And that
did
was why he
yeah, and he clearly has prepared Felix, because under his tutelage, Felix had a nice run at Wimbledon, has a nice run at the U.S. Open, and he also took Rafa to 5 sets. And the only thing that stopped Felix from doing that was Felix, not the coaching. So I think we have to give props to Uncle Tony for doing well with Felix already, with the raw material that he has. But the person
But
who
we
has to
see
take
where
him over,
his
his game has definitely improved. He's gotten
but we see
steadier.
where his allegiance lies, Uncle Tony. We
But of
see
course
that.
his allegiance is with his nephew. His nephew pays his bills. He has an entire career.
I want my
in
money
tennis.
back. I don't care.
And
I
therein
want my money
lies
back.
the problem
I
with
want my
Uncle
money back.
Tony
I don't really
I
coaching
see
am
it.
not
someone
paying
else.
I am not paying you to lose to Nadal.
Well, honey, everyone is losing to Nadal. At least lose respectably.
Not interested in that. I will take no silver lining from this shit. You
I
gonna
agree.
give my money back.
I agree.
Because
O.
I know.
think,
Because
I
here's
think
the
that's
thing.
the coaching
It isn't.
relationship.
But it isn't that. It isn't that they had a hard fought battle
They did.
and whatever the case in the end. What we all felt and what we all knew is that Uncle Tony had told him, "This is what you do when you're late in the final quarter. This is how you handle this child."
But this is listen, that's not Tony's failure. I'll be honest. Felix, that was a winnable match for Felix.
But
Yeah,
this
it was.
That was a winnable
Yeah.
match for Felix.
and
And that's
this is
his
where I
own
think
issue.
Felix
And that's his own
Felix-
issue. And that has nothing to do with his coach. His coach gave him all the raw material to take Rafa to 5. And then when push comes to shove, which is the reason you don't play with Felix, is like TFO sometimes, which are your
tennis
other fave.
acumen.
It's not about tennis acumen. It's that killer instinct. That killer. That's what Tony probably told Rafa. At the end of the day, no matter how well he's playing, when it's
That line is
time
just
to pull
purring.
the trigger, he will not be able to do it. So you'll
You know,
have
I don't
plenty
even
of
care.
time.
I don't even care if Tony said that to Rafa. What I care about is the fact that somehow it publicly got out that he said, I'm not coming to the match because it's uncomfortable for me, which that part's semi-okay. However, he said, I hope Rafa wins. That is the problem. I don't care
get
about
that.
any
I
of
don't
the
get that. I don't get why
because
that's
you
a
are
problem.
the coach.
Honey, I
of
pay
his
you to help
opponent.
me. I pay you to help me win matches. I don't pay you for wishes. Who
I
he
just
wishes
that
to win
no, that's a
doesn't
bad
bother
look.
me.
I don't
It's
like
a bad
it.
look for you? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I
fair.
don't like it at
I
all.
think it was a bad look for a lot of people. I want to ask people in the chat. Did that feel like a bad look to you to hear Tio Tony say that I want my nephew to win, not the person I coach? Which is explicitly the second half that people are adding, right?
Which is what I talk about. This is why I'm saying these people are greedy and they're messy.
Who's
and that
greedy?
whole situation. That man got 13 French Open. 13 since 2005.
I mean,
And
is it
y'all
greed
can't
or
believe
is it a
that y'all.
chase
I
for
mean, like,
greatness?
is this hubris in these people's mind that y'all can't be with that? You can't win this shit every year.
Well,
That
what
every
do you
year
mean,
y'all gonna
what do
show
you-
up here thinking that this thing belongs to y'all? Nah.
What are you saying? I'm not.
What are
I'm
you
not
saying?
following you.
Yeah.
No,
what's
I
the
mean that
transition?
he wants his nephew to win. I'm just like, even that.
Listen. We all
Nah.
listen. Let's go into it. You've been flirting
But this
around.
wasn't like.
Thank
I
you,
don't know.
Luke.
look,
Say
no, like, look,
nothing.
yes.
Say
Okay, fine.
nothing.
But listen. I get saying nothing. I think that was probably not appropriate to say out loud. Although I wouldn't have been any doubt that the family wants it. Listen, every single Spanish person lines up for Rafa to be deified on clay. That is, I mean, they brought the prince out, or not the prince. They brought the king. The king came out, right? The king. They flew the king in for a cheesy ass final. But I mean, we have seen this for a really long time. There is a lot at stake in placing Spanish dominance fully on Rafa's head. I think it would have been even weirder for Uncle Tony to say anything, not Uncle Tony, but Tio Tony, to say anything. What he probably should have done, you're right, is to just not say anything at all. Because politically, I don't think he would have been okay saying, I want this young man to dethrone Rafa
No,
at
he should have said
Roland
nothing.
Garros.
He
Probably
should-
not.
You know what? even say it's maybe a little inappropriate for me to comment because this is my student and this is my family. So I'm going to stay out of it. You're not
Yeah,
going to get a
fair.
public comment from me
Fair enough.
on
Fair
this,
enough.
you know? I mean, because I have no problem with Rafa winning a gazillion French Opens. You know what? Do the damn thing. Make all the history.
Oh, I
I
have
hope it
I
all
got
comes
problems with
out.
that, but
I
I
okay.
know
got
you do.
problems with
I
it.
know you do.
I got
And I
problems.
hope it all comes out in the end of how he got there. I do. But it is what it is. We're watching it. You know, you do you. Maybe other people need to do things better. I don't know, but this is what we've got. So it's going to happen. It's going to continue to probably happen until he retires, it looks like, because supposedly the motherfucker couldn't walk the week before. And I'm hearing some bullshit story about how he's playing on a numb foot. I don't buy that for a minute. I don't know what the
Okay,
hell's
so
going
let's
on
talk
there.
about Rafa's run. Coco's run made you cry. What did Rafa's run do for you?
I mean, Rafa's run was normal to me. I didn't read about the actual medical procedures that supposedly or most likely took place until after it was over. And I'm calling bullshit. I am calling bullshit. Every single person listening right now has woken up when you slept on your hand wrong and it's numb and you can't feel shit. You have all gone to the
You can't
dentist
even walk on
probably.
it.
Yeah, you've gone to the dentist, right? You've got Novocaine, because this is what I'm hearing, that he more than likely got Novocaine injections or something very similar. You go to the dentist, you get a Novocaine injection, you're told not to eat for, you know, whatever many hours until your feeling comes back. Why? Because you can fucking chew a hole in your face because you can't feel it. You're drooling and you don't even know that you have spit sliding down your face because you can't feel it. You want to tell me this motherfucker was playing tennis, getting multiple injections daily and couldn't feel his foot and didn't fall down? Bullshit. That is some bull motherfucking shit. Just tell me the truth. Whatever you're doing, tell me that he got steroid injections, because you know what? They're legal in that arena when, you know, you're treating something. There are steroids that are not performance enhancing per se, but they take away inflammation and they take away pain. But don't tell me you're playing on a numb foot. That's impossible. Nobody can do that.
Well, I mean,
Nobody.
I think what's interesting about the conversation around Rafa and his injuries and the various, first of all, I just think it's a clever approach, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, and it's not for any kind of gamesmanship, which I think people often do believe that that's what it's for. I think it's a real misdirection. Because if you tell me something, I feel like one of the things that I've learned from the Rafa camp, I extrapolate it to watching people talk politically, right?
Mhm.
It's like you give me the most extreme, ridiculous lie, and I just spend my time spiraling around that lie. I don't ask any questions because the lie is so ridiculous, right? It's like you're playing on a numb foot. How is that even possible? Let's
It's
have a
not.
conversation about the possibility of this. And blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Listen, the only people who were
And
asking this,
also, why don't we pretend that the
yeah,
lie is really a lie? And
yeah,
then keep asking
and then keep asking
other
about
real
the
the
thing.
real questions, right? Because Janina, I just want to I just want to add something. You know, you mentioned a really excellent point about the most numbness that we know is two things. You know, sleeping on a body part. You know, where you sort of like stop circulation, etc., and also like going to dentist and having a Novocaine. You know, and here's the interesting thing: even though you're biting your jaw and your cheek and whatever, and you don't feel anything, guess what? You're still doing damage.
To it.
Pain comes when it wears off, right? You are actually damaged. So if there is for some reason, because here's the thing, for him to get pain in his foot, there has to be allegedly a legitimate injury, right? Something has been wrong, torn, whatever the case may be. Getting injections to not feel that pain doesn't mean that tear goes away. And when he's out there, I mean, like you couldn't tell 2022 Rafa from 2005 Rafa, other than hair and length of shorts, right? And maybe some sleeves, right? That you are continuing to do more damage. And then he just grew from strength to strength. I mean, I don't understand why we're sitting here watching this nonsense and saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing." We can't even call out with our boss and tell him we cut our hands. Our boss wouldn't even accept that excuse. Our job will not, and we're not even doing anything miraculous or crazy like Rafa, right? and we're gonna sit here and watch that man tell us the only thing you know what that injection gotta be? It gotta be epidural. It gotta be that.
So let's talk about this medically, right? If I watched a doctor talk about it, a podiatrist talk about it and say, from the information that has been given from the Rafa camp, this is likely what's going on. It sounds like Rafa has nerve damage in his foot, which causes his pain. If anybody has ever experienced any kind of nerve damage, it is a really weird sensation. It's a weird type of pain. It feels like burning and tingling. It's not like, ooh, I stubbed my toe or I cut myself. It's a completely different, can be almost crippling pain. If you've ever had shingles, that's nerve pain, right? So this podiatrist is talking about the likely treatment and what they're doing and how they treat. Rafa's camp did say exactly what the issue is, the medical name for it, and I don't remember. But you have the way that they treat it is exactly what you just said, Reels. An epidural type thing. And what that is a nerve block. So what they do is they cut off the ability of the nerve to function properly, because that's what's causing the pain. And you have 4 of them that go across the foot, and they do 1. And if it works, good. If not, they do 2 and 3 and 4. But the side effect is you can't fucking feel your foot. And exactly what you said, Reels, it doesn't stop the problem. It's just masking it. It's just masking it. It isn't healing you. It's not allowing you to get better. You're actually, over time, if you were to continue to do that, you're just going to make more damage, because you're not feeling that pain, but you're still using your body part the way that you always would. And in Rafa's case of being an elite athlete, the shit that he's doing to his feet is, my feet are tired after a day of work. I can't imagine what they would feel like after playing 5 hours of sliding around on clay.
Well, I mean, for me, I think it's wonderful that you all gave that serious consideration.
But
And I think that that's exactly the point of this conversation, is to literally give serious consideration to an absolutely stupid thing, which has always been the case with Rafa's injuries. They make no sense. And the
because guess what?
performance that comes out of the injuries make no sense. And if that's the ongoing theme, what I thought was really fascinating about watching Rafa accomplish this 14 Roland Garros title was the lack of insight by the reporters covering it. Was the
As far as
failure
what?
just the failure to ask serious questions. First
Like
of all,
what did you want them to ask?
Serious questions about how Rafa was able to perform at that level when he was supposedly very injured.
Mhm.
Serious questions about how he was able to perform at that level when he had not practiced at all, which was a legitimate point that was made about Djokovic, who ran out of gas.
Mhm.
Serious questions about kind of the state of the ATP, when a person who is allowed to do that and claim these injuries and say all these things is able to sort of have such a dominant French Open, right? Yes, he's lost a couple sets here and there. But the thing I think is so strange is, like, this should have been like a come to Jesus moment for the ATP and asking real questions about that club. Like, who are these men? Like, but all I saw were people getting up here and saying, you can't ask questions because Rafa is just amazing.
Right.
That's
bullshit.
That's your approach. Someone is like gotten 14, barely taken to 5 sets at this tournament, injured out the wazoo always, but you don't have any questions to ask about how this person is maintaining that dominance, and why is this possible, and what are the other players failing to do? I mean, if you don't want to ask the questions about his capacity, fine. You don't even have to ask that. But what about asking about the capacity of the others to truly challenge Rafa on this surface? Why aren't they able to challenge him? What's going on there? Like, because I know that if that was the analysis that was happening on the WTA side, which we started the tournament with, like asking about this number one and then going, oh wow, what's going to happen? Who's going to come up and, push her, and all these kinds of questions. We ask that all the time. But for some reason, simply by starting and ending with Rafa's greatness, we have nothing else to say about his run.
And that's
ever.
bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's
but
weird.
You know what?
And
We
why
can't
are the
expect this.
only But why are the only people talking about Rafa's run cyclists who have seen what drugs can do for a sport? And why are the cyclists the only ones saying, is this ethical what's going on? What's happening there? Like, I mean, that to me is the
And
big
it doesn't make
question.
sense. They're like,
That's
first
the
of all, this
question.
doesn't make sense. Like,
Well,
it's no way.
listen.
Because here's the thing here's the interesting part to add to the whole, if we're going to treat this lie as if it were a legitimate thing, right? And that you can't. The odd part is that you accept this statement that they're making as it is, right? You're not allowed to ask.
You're not going to do analysis or critiques
Exactly.
of it. And you're
Here's
not
the
going to
thing.
ask how Felix was able to not triumph over a guy on a dead foot in 5 sets. I mean, ask any of them. Ask any of those questions. But don't,
And even but my thing
don't
is that
indict,
presumably he's not in every day, the same spiel come by, I wake up in so much pain, I don't know if I can walk, whatever. Presumably you won the French Open, you won your 14, you're no longer taking these injections. Sir, you are supposed to be in crippling pain. You're supposed to be in crippling pain right about now. Because you didn't show up to any.
I saw you on a boat. I saw you on a yacht.
I saw you on a yacht, and then you come, and the thing that upset me, that really took the cake
in
for
crutches.
Me,
come on,
in these crutches, that is so disgusting, sir. Stop it. That is rude and offensive to people.
Zverev had a real injury that required crutches. Just
exactly. Saying. Are we supposed to then tell Zverev, "Boo, we're gonna give you some epidural right now and get back out there and finish this match"?
Well, I mean, that's what that narrative creates. That's the narrative that Andy Murray creates. That's the narrative that any of these people create with any kind of conversation about injuries. Like, we need to have real conversations about, when you say an injury is almost career ending, I need to see your career either end or I need to see you have lack of form. Don't say that's what it is then, because all it does is sets people up with really bad expectations. My expectation now is that I should see Zverev walking in about a month's time and trotting on that court and maybe making it to Wimbledon by the skin of his teeth. Like, these are the kinds of impractical ideas that we are going to have, right? Same thing with Andy Murray. We know Andy Murray has a weird hip, makes a run to the final. And now the next thing I'm going to hear is people tell me that Andy Murray has a chance of winning
Wimbledon
with in best of 5. Like, these are the kinds of things that we start playing with when we lead with the kind of ridiculous assumptions about injuries, when realistically injuries mean they play out like Berrettini. I don't see you for an entire season. You can't even play a slam.
Where is Roger Federer?
You got to be gone for a year. Like, I'm just saying, like, I think it just is a bad setup. Fine, make Rafa the exception, but then please don't make that an expectation for all the other players around how they're supposed to comport themselves with injuries and what that means. Because
Rafa is not the exception.
Well, whether he is or not, I'm going to accept it as an exception. If I'm going to be nice, I'm going to be nice, and I don't want to be sued. I'm going to say that Rafa is an injury exception. Fine. But what I think it does do, though, is set up an expectation about how other players are supposed to perform when injured or when they have been challenged with an enduring issue, and you're just not, quote unquote, able to man up. You're not able to woman up. You're not tough enough. You're not a warrior. You're not willing to.
Well, this happened to Carlos last year at the French Open, right? This is what John McEnroe was saying.
Yeah,
man up and finish this match. But I just want to say, I mean, in 2017, Roger came back and he won the French Open. He won the Sunshine Double, whatever the case you want to call that. People had questions. They had open questions about this.
You should.
They were talking about doping outwardly, and he said, "I got the doping. You could go check my things." So I'm not saying this. And listen to me. If we're checking Rafa, we check everybody.
Check Djokovic.
Check Djokovic.
But you can't check Djokovic.
I don't care.
Djokovic was bending over, can't breathe.
Right. And this is what I'm talking about. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, my problem with, and to cycling's point, it's just like, this shit cannot happen in cycling. Do you know at the Tour de France, you have to finish the entire race? You don't get to lead on stage 22, stage 17, and you're like, I'm done. I don't have enough points that I'm going to just be the... No. If you don't be on your bike from stage 1 to when they ride down the Champs-Elysees in Paris, you don't get that yellow jersey and that cup. You gotta be there every single day. So I am saying if cycling is out here, I just think, tennis has been very dodgy when it comes to doping. And this is not my way of saying that Rafa is in fact doping. What my question is that my thing here is that this shit is crazy. This is odd. That at the very least, we should be asking questions. And people need to show some response. We shouldn't just be allowed to just ask questions like some random crazy person. Tennis needs to show up because this is insane. Andy Murray said, and this is true, if Carlos Alcaraz wins the French Open this year at 19, he would win 14. He would win it every single year until he's 33. We wouldn't accept that. We would think that is insane. Like, what the fuck? We would have questions. And for us to just sit here in the wall of when we know everything is crazy, that we just gonna sit here and be like, oh my God, sing this man praises every day. When we turn around and watch Djokovic and people have questions about Djokovic, people still have questions about Djokovic.
No, I mean, listen,
I have questions about Alcaraz.
No, but remember the Djokovic. Remember, people accepted Djokovic's undeniable endurance until he faced Andy Murray in finals. And then the British press were like, let's talk about your recovery period. How are you doing this? What's your capacity to do this? Which at the time people thought was unfair. And the only reason why the Brits were asking it was because they had a personal stake. But it was a legitimate question, and it should always be a legitimate question that's raised. Like, it should always be an invitation for you to ask this question. Because it's like when you have people who, when sports is embedded so much in people's assumptions about what a country is, as we're about to encounter when we start talking about Wimbledon. But when people are using a person's run in sports to affirm their cultural identity, their national identity, you're allowed to ask, what are the prices people are paying to affirm this identity? What are the steps that people are willing to take to constantly be at the top of the sport? Like, you're allowed to ask questions about doping and gambling in tennis, which we only ever do at the very lowest level when the benefits are so small there. The benefits are much greater at the top. So I don't understand why we flip it. Yeah, like, why are we
an excellent segue for Russia. Because had Rafael Nadal been Russian, I'm telling you, that would have been.
All the Russians will be playing everywhere.
No, not even that. The questions would be asked.
The question would have been asked.
The question would have to be asked.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's unfair.
But you know what? We do ask it in other sports.
But you can't ask the question of only some people, right? You know what I mean? That's a thing. Like, it's kind of like how the cloud was always on Serena, but never on anyone else, right?
Right.
So the question
never on Justine, never on Capriati, never on Hingis, and never on
Listen, we're in the midst.
I mean,
we're in the midst right now of the NBA Finals, right?
Yep.
You got two teams left. They've been playing for a long time. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's beat up. There's nobody, not one person on that court probably at any given moment that doesn't have some type of injury. Steph Curry hurt himself pretty good the other night. Re-injured, it looked like maybe his knee. What does the press ask? What did you do for recovery? How are you going to rehab your body in 2 days to play again at this level? They ask these questions all the time. They ask it in every fucking sport except for tennis. They even ask it in cycling.
Well, they should in cycling.
But they do. That's what I'm saying.
You have
we
to.
always ask this question. In other sports, it is a normal part of the press conference. It's a normal part of the conversation, and it happens all the time. We don't dare ask.
But when ask these questions, though.
When they do, well, like Andreen said, when we started questioning Novak, and it was the British press, then we found out about the egg. And guess where the egg became illegal? In fucking Britain.
But you can do it in Melbourne.
I'm just saying.
Or he could do it outside.
It's always self-serving.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, because part of it is that you have like forsaken your responsibility for me to take this seriously. Listen, I'll tell you straight up. My ability to suspend disbelief at the French was really tested this year. And so I did not take any of these proclamations about greatness or any of that stuff seriously, because frankly, I think the GOAT debate is what has led us down this road of people doing ridiculous things. And then also the commentators being kind of soft and not being willing to ask the tough questions. Like, I'm refusing to believe my eyes. I don't believe my eyes. And you know what? Maybe it's very cynical of me, but all I can think about during this period is the summer of Sammy Sosa, right? Like everyone, the only thing people could say was, it's incredulous. This is unbelievable. You'll
Mark
never see
McGuire.
anything like this, right? Well, it was like, right? That was that whole thing. I remember that summer, and I don't even follow sport, but all I remember at the time looking at it thinking, something weird must be going on there. But everybody seemed ready to submit to it. And then years later, everyone in hindsight, well, it was kind of ridiculous, but everyone's making money, and it was da-da-da-da-da, and it wasn't
Amen.
politic to ask the headlines and do all this kind of stuff. I'm just saying, if cycling people are the only ones talking to you about
You
what
better
is
listen
happening
up.
at Roland Garros, y'all need to be asking yourself some questions, and at least come up with some,
eyes.
at least come up with some talking points about it. And let me tell you something. I know people get pissed off at me, but the one thing I disliked about what happened with Sharapova, and people don't ever talk about, there's like, oh, it was jealousy, it was this. You know what it is? For me as a sports person, because guess what? I don't know any of these people. I don't take them personally. I like one, don't like the other, but I don't personally know them. So I don't have a stake in them personally. What I have a stake in them is as athletes. And so even though I liked Sharapova, I lost complete disrespect for her as an athlete, because it's really about how she was treating her compatriots. That was the problem for me. If she's costing you titles, that's a problem for me, whether you like her or don't like her. So at the end of the day, it behooves you Canadians to ask the tough questions for Felix, okay? Because that might be his best shot at the French ever. I think that's the thing, is like people always presume that someone's going to have another shot.
Yeah.
But we've just seen an entire dark generation on the ATP tour with many people losing their shots. If you think people are playing with the rules and doing things, it's up to you to ask questions. Ask the tough questions. Like, you are allowed to do that, because it's not so much about being anti or whatever. It's also about like holding them accountable to each other. You know, it was unfair that Sharapova was so focused on Serena that she was doing whatever she did. But nobody ever thinks about the people that she rolled over to get to those matches against Serena. Like, those people's careers were chafed, right? They were shortened. They were done. Things were done to them.
Anna
And so for
Ivanovic
me,
could have got a second major.
I mean, maybe, but I'm just saying, it's like those are the kinds of things that I like. That is what messes with me around the questions of drugs or not. Whether you like it, whether you think it's great, whether you think it amplifies the sport or whatever, you cannot have these massively amazing things happen in your sport and not have a set of journalists asking the tough questions about why this is possible. How is it happening? What kind of permission did you get to take this drug? Was it morally okay for you to show up in that final? No, you basically couldn't feel your foot. Like, all of those questions are up for grabs. Like, those should be things that you're actually bandying about and talking about without being disrespectful, but you can ask them. But now you actually can't even ask the question, and you're supposed to sit there and just be like, yeah, it is amazing. You're right. I'm thinking no other thought about how amazing this is. Like, that's just strange to me.
I feel like if anybody would have asked that question, who is a staple in tennis media, if it would have been like some local
Ostracized.
reporter or whatever, they would be ostracized. They would
But
never
Exactly.
be
here's the
invited
thing.
back.
But
That's
here's
not
the thing,
okay. Hold on,
but-
Reels. That's
Mhm.
not okay. You know, but that is the exact reason why they don't ask these questions. Every single one of us have been in that room before, and you know how the shit rolls, and
Yep.
that's why they don't ask the question.
But
And
I'm going to take it. But I'm going to take it out from there, though, because here's the thing. I saw Christian Amanpour talking to Rafa, and she didn't ask these questions.
Well, why
She
would she?
didn't.
That was a press reporting. I mean, listen, that's like
Exactly.
that was like when people
Because
used
you
to
get
show
the
up for-
tweets, you get the
No,
you
but,
get
you
the
know, you're
likes, and
showing
you
up.
get.
Remember, who was the guy? Who's that guy? Who's Christian on Amanpour for us in the United States? Charlie Rose, right? That's
Not
a
Charlie
fluff.
Rose. Christian.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's a Charlie Rose interview. It's a fluff interview, right? That's the point. That's to burnish your run. It's not to ask you critical questions about it.
Right.
You
It's
know
to
what I mean? Like,
solidify
yeah, it's to solidify it. It's to affirm
that
it.
greatness. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because even NPR took that story. And
Yeah.
but anyway, I have NPR issues anyway. But I just
no.
want to add something to this whole discussion. Is that we need to be asking also, why is it's the scrubs and the wenches who are only being caught doping? What are
Who
y'all
needs the
taking?
You
scrubs?
already know the
But
answer to that
but
question.
but
Tennis
this is
isn't
so
going to
weird.
tarnish itself by fucking up the people at the top if they are in fact dirty. They're not going to do that. Tennis
But
does
this is what
not
I find is
have.
crazy. Then these scrubs and wenches, you can't dope. Then why don't you take it? Are y'all doing it in front of everyone? Because
They're
this is
doing
the
it
thing I don't
poorly.
understand. It
They're doing
can't
it
be
poorly.
because it can't be that. This is the implication. This is what tennis wants me to swallow, right? The scrubs and the wenches are out here doping until they get to the big leagues and then they stop doping. That ain't how that works. And if the scrubs who ain't getting nowhere because Tara Moore got caught doping allegedly, she got some doping in violation right now. She's in arbitration, right? When last y'all heard about Tara Moore that's tennis related,
I know.
right? That is
I don't even know who
in
that is.
fact
You know her.
that relates to the actual tennis she's
She,
playing.
all you know about her though is she had things to say about Serena's performance on a tennis court.
Exactly.
and
Exactly. She
comportment.
thought that Serena should have, and this is interesting, right? She thought that Serena was injured against Safashova, I think it was, and that she should have quit the match because Serena was injured and lose and just let it go. Let someone else take the cake. That's what she said.
Well,
Obviously,
that's
semifinals
interesting
or
because
whatever it was.
somebody should have done
And then
that all
another
the fit.
player said, what's her name? Laura Robson pulled her
Yep.
up. And then again, she got pulled up recently by Donna Vekic because she was the set people don't give her the memo. And Donna was like, girl, everybody got a memo. You might probably just not in the room. You probably just don't read your email. Right?
Listen.
But
Oh, Lord
I
have
I want to
mercy.
acknowledge the people in the chat, that some of the chat, I saw that O mentioned something about when we were talking about Uncle Tony about the issue in figure skating where
Yep.
one coach, and particularly in ice dance, and I think the Canadians have like a whole school and whatever. That I think is might be different, and then there is always fraction in that camp, right? But I think maybe in that case the cream rise to the top. But I mean, there are always a lot of issues around that issue, about the same coach coaching all the top teams, and then they have to figure out their personality. But I think the teams have an agreement how much time is spent with me, what kind of programs I get to do, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if that's the kind of deal going on with Uncle Tony. I just know I ain't paying for that. I
Well,
just know I'm not paying for that.
so
But
okay, and
but
then
to
you have
keep
go ahead.
we're moving on. Is that we're going to move on? Telling me?
No, you said you had some other things that you want to point out in the comment section. So point out some points, and then let's
Oh
get
yes,
to
yes,
the
yes.
big issue.
And everyone was
That's
talking about
coming.
perhaps one of the issue with tennis is that the corporate sponsor with betting becoming a thing, and then the fake journalists in the room. I mean, yes, but what I find is interesting to, I think, Andre's point and to Janina's point is that, yes, those rooms are pressure cookers, that they can't say anything. They're trying to sing for their supper, basically. But what I find is interesting is that it's the outside world. It shouldn't be cyclists having this conversation. I mean, that cyclists are having this conversation is crazy because that's how badly it is. Because cyclists are saying, y'all let this man carry on with this shit for too long. And Lance Armstrong was getting questions from day one. People had questions about Lance Armstrong from day one. And we saw how that situation blew up. But perhaps, as did mentioned in comments, money is flowing. Whatever limited tennis resources, money that they have,
But this is
it's being
happening
flowed
over
from.
multiple sports right now. You're seeing these betting commercials also during NBA games, during NFL games. You're seeing it more and more. It's almost like it just all came out of the woodwork across all sports at once in the US because it's not just tennis that this is happening in. And it's weird every time I see it, no matter what I'm watching.
Well, so I mean, I think there's some valid pieces in the comments, and I mean, I know this is going to tag as hater, but I mean, I think one of the hateration, right? But because we're not Rafa fans, but I think one of the things is that when it happened for Federer, in order for us to enjoy Federer's run, we had to ask ourselves the question, right? And I will just say, I remember a tennis journalist saying at some point in time that at some point they were just going to be willing to enjoy what was happening for the tennis, regardless of how unrealistic it may seem, because they didn't want to contemplate asking the tough questions of the sport, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair point, and I'm willing to go down that road. I'm willing to say that, but I think what I want us to say is that there have been people challenged with their performance and questions asked about their performance. That Djokovic, the cloud was on him. Listen, I'm not a huge Djokovic fan. We all know that. Yes, he's my second favorite, maybe. But at the end of the day, the people felt really comfortable asking Djokovic about his recovery when he was facing Andy Murray. And
Mhm.
that felt like a legitimate question. Let us depersonalize it or denationalize it and ask that question generally when someone is doing something on a court that
Yep.
makes no sense to you. And but don't only ask it when it's a rival, right? Like, please, let's not do that.
Yeah.
That's not cool. So, uh, and everyone feels ridiculous. I'm prepared to believe in miracles in sports, just not that much, y'all. I think my eyes don't want to be deceived that much. But speaking of miracles in sports, let's shift over to the final miracle. Wimbledon is coming without Russians or Belarusians.
Or points.
How or points. Or
Yep.
points. Wimbledon. Well, it's almost like fundamentally Wimbledon is finally asking the questions. Are we so great that we don't need individual players or points? But what's your all
This
take on
Let
this?
this
let us
is
test our ability to be the
Great.
greatest champions tennis tournament in ever.
The biggest stage in the
this
world.
is so weird to me.
What?
The saying Russian and Belarusian players are not welcome is not weird to me. This is something I don't know that I agree with it, to be honest. But we've seen it before. The points thing is so weird to me. I don't understand this. I don't understand the reasoning behind it. I don't understand why anybody thinks it makes sense. I feel like everybody's being punished. I don't get it. And the players really should be like, well, fuck you, I'm not coming. Like, why should they go play this tournament for
Because
2
the money is
weeks?
still there.
I understand that the money is still there, but you're going to win a great show me one player who's going to win a grand slam or a major, sorry, and not want those points. What if that is the tipping point between number 1 and number 2?
Girl, they played pandemic tennis. They don't care.
No, it's just, it's so, I don't get it. I really, I don't understand how that benefits anything to say you don't get points for playing. I really don't understand. You've already said we are not going to allow Russian and Belarusian players to come and participate.
Mhm.
Why is every other nation being punished?
Well,
I-
ATP
listen,
did that. I
first
mean,
and
the
foremost-
I
tours
know.
did that.
I
Yeah.
know, but I
That's
just
a
I don't get
structural-
it.
But that's a structural piece, right? Everyone is playing the part that they have. First and
Did they really
foremost,
think that if they said this that they were going to invite these players back? Is this just some puffed out chest power struggle?
well, I mean, it's a little bit of a power struggle, right? Because Wimbledon and the ITF folks have their ability to say what they want to have happen. And the ATP and the WTA have to recognize and exercise what they have the options of, right? I mean, I think that this is what's happened. Wimbledon can say, I don't want this. And the ATP and WTA is like, we can't allow you to segment certain players. Like, what kind of an organization would they be if they actually allowed that? Like, that's a legitimate question and a framing for them to have. And listen, everyone is willing for the Russians to take to suffer. So to my mind, if you're willing to show up for Wimbledon, then you can suffer the consequences of participating in a tournament that took a particular stance. It's okay. Like, if that is the stance for Wimbledon, they can have it. But I think the WTA and the ATP had a right to have their own stances, and everyone gets to play with the consequences of the
Yeah, of
stance
course
you
they have
took,
a right. I just don't understand it. I
What do
really
you mean you
don't.
don't understand?
I
Why
don't
you don't understand why
understand.
someone would show up without getting points?
No. That's not it. I don't understand what purpose it is supposed to be serving that they've taken the points away. I really don't get it.
Well, what else? I mean, because the
It's the
majors
only
I run in
punishment they have. Yeah, that's
that's
For
the
what?
only-
Who
yeah.
are they trying to punish?
no, but this is the only lever you have.
Yeah.
If you have the slams make a decision that doesn't count you as a player, your only other leverage is to offer something else, a counter. And their counter is, well, we're going to remove points from your tournament
Because
decrease its
Yeah.
value for people.
But
That's
it's
all that's what it is. Yes, it's
Because
components everyone
historically,
else.
remember the Wimbledon and the French were only open to amateur athletes. They were not open to professional athletes, and that's why I think it's
They
outside of
historically
that.
have, yeah, that's why they
Yeah,
continue to have that independent role to some
the
degree,
independent
right?
role.
I think the only thing that would really work, if what the ATP and the WTA are trying to do is say, we don't agree with you not letting Russian and Belarusian players into your tournament. I think the only thing that hurts Wimbledon is boycott. It doesn't hurt Wimbledon to
Well,
They
but
say
this
can't.
is,
They,
our
they
but
can't
they
hold the
don't have,
leverage.
but they don't
They
have,
can't
they,
hold the
they
no,
don't
power
want
to
to
but
do
the
do that.
that.
players do. If
No,
the
the
because
players
it
don't.
But
sounds like
ATP can't
They
tell the
don't.
players to boycott.
they can.
Boycott.
No, they cannot. But hear me out.
I totally get your point, Janina. It's the most effective
It
approach,
is
but
the only effective
no
approach
one's gonna do
because
that.
no. And so what are you standing up for? You're not fucking standing up
I
for
mean,
anything
listen.
because
What is
Wimbledon is
Wimbledon
not
standing up
suffering.
for either? What is
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon standing up
Well,
for?
I don't know, but they're not losing shit. They're
Well,
not losing.
listen.
People will still go.
Yes, for
Players will
sure.
still get money. The fans will be there. They will spend their money. Nothing. This does by saying we are taking away points. It does nothing for Wimbledon.
It's
Nothing.
it's the only leverage that the players have,
Yes.
aside from the extreme one, which you've pointed out, which they should have contemplated, which is like, guess what? If you're going to block these two countries, if that's really where your position is, then
We're not coming.
what stops you from blocking any other country in some arbitrary fashion at some point in time? We may not want to go down that road, and so this is the point we're willing to make, which is we all don't show up and we all don't get anything. Right? That's the leverage they had. They weren't willing to test it.
No.
Clearly, at least,
And
in
that's
some
sad
level.
to me. I mean,
Well,
don't get
actually,
as-
but where do you
Because
think
they
about
didn't
it?
have the money, because the ATP don't want to fund up the money, and the WTA don't want to fund up the money, because I mean, I would have been like, you know what, I'm going to stage my own tournament elsewhere.
I mean, they could have.
Give
I
them
guess
money,
they could have
give
just
them
continued. They
points.
could have had that damn 1,000-point grass tournament somewhere. Flop.
Exactly.
Ask another place to give up a couple points.
2000
that week.
exactly.
Yeah.
Go
could've.
right there. Go have it at
Theoretically
Queen's
could.
Club.
I
Go
mean,
have it
not
at
really
Queen's Club.
Queens. Probably
just-
nowhere in the UK.
I can't. I legit can't wrap my mind around it. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. I really think it's dumb. I do.
But what do you think about? Okay, so that's fair. But I'm curious. What do you politically real? Since you are the most political tracker on our podcast, what do you think about the politics of Wimbledon even just making this play overall?
Well, I mean, I would say that, you know, in and of itself, as it relates to tennis, right? In this, it seems rather silly because they're not banned anywhere else, right? You're just this lone person to do this. And I imagine this has something to do with the larger politics of England's own political mess and masquerading that's going on, you know, like Boris Johnson, Italy, etc.
Yep.
I've long made it known that I don't think sports is that important, that we should have been banned sports since COVID because people just ain't acting right. I do think that I would say that earlier this year, I have asked that I have always been asking that Russian athletes be banned and all points taken away for every major tournament there is: Olympics, Winter, Summer, World Championships from 2010, right? Going back, take them out, because Russia has shown itself to be clearly above the rules, don't give a shit with doping, etc. We still haven't even resolved that figure skating mess and issue. The only thing the ISU has said now that athletes have to be 17. Whoop de whoop, one more year. So they got one more year in the dope farm. Like, what does that help with? You know what I mean? Like, it's just really bizarre and crazy. But I mean, so I would say that you mean it, but I think, you know, like, we are thinking about taking a player's livelihood and whatever. I don't know how these athletes feel. There is literally a war going on right now. Like, legitimate things are happening to people, Russia and whatever, but it's also happening elsewhere around the world. And we don't look to those people to do this thing. But, you know, Europeans have this tendency, particularly England, when it threatens us, that's when we're going to take a moral stand, right? And I think Russia is set to destabilize what has been the working relationship the world has. And at the very least, banning these athletes if it's going to do something. But I think it's as a lone stand, it's not effective. But I really
Right.
do think that Russian athletes and Belarusian athletes should be persona non grata. They're banned from biathlon actually, um, but since February. And I think the reason is that because these things goes back to what Andrea was mentioning about how you put this patriotic thing on athletes to carry the country in terms of Spain. Russia is doing that, and it continues to do that. And I think how the world understand when they see their athletes doing well and performing, etc., it's food for the father, like, and that's
But that
just madness.
feels, but it feels
But
arbitrary,
but
doesn't it?
it exactly, that's what I'm saying, that they didn't, this is not a collective agreement, right? And but I think Wimbledon figure, let me do this, and maybe this might start the ball
So then
rolling.
why not do it with the ITF? They were all able to align when it was time to get somebody to do a press conference.
Oh,
Why didn't they all
but
align?
I
Like it would
imagine
have
that they
made a
got pushed.
stronger case, right? And you
Well, the
make a
French
stronger
can't say
case.
anything because of
Well, the French
Macron.
can. Well, I
No,
mean,
but the
not from
French can't
Macron's
because
side, but
Macron is
Now
seen as the
Macron is
only
trying to talk to
Only
Putin.
European leader talking to
But that's
Putin.
fine. But then make it about a play. Don't make it about some sort of moral play that is like justified across everything. Like to my mind, you're right. Fine. France can't do it because France is politically doing something else. The US Open can't do it because the US is doing something else. But then Wimbledon's charge feels weird to me then. Like what is the point then if you're not going to be able to be unified
Well, and
together
England is
as
involved.
ITF to do something or say something qualitatively? It makes no sense to me. I'm not saying either you're all doing it or none of you are doing it. It just doesn't make sense as a sporting body. Like as a sporting body, fine. Whatever you want to do internationally as a country, that's one thing. But it seems strange to me for Wimbledon to be the only one holding up this mantle. Unless if Wimbledon talked to the French people and they're like, the French is like, I'll do this, you do that. I mean, whatever. That clearly seems like some sort of weird negotiation behind the scenes. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense from a sports body
Listen,
perspective.
Vladimir Putin doesn't give a fuck whether or not these athletes are playing.
I
It
mean,
isn't going to affect what he's doing, what
well, it's
he's
not for him
commanding
though.
people to do. But I feel like this is a play because you don't like what your country is doing, but it doesn't affect anything. Nothing
Well,
nothing
It does.
happens.
It does. It
I
does.
mean, I think you
How?
have to ask the question though. I mean, symbolism is a big deal. This is what
It isn't
this is
I
about symbolism. It's not
but
about
I
the practical things about whether Putin's
Yeah.
going to get something or not get something. For this charge is only that symbolically we don't want to look as if we are celebrating a country that is wreaking havoc. That's all it is. It's a
Yeah, I get
symbolism
it. I
play.
get
Because
it, but I don't know that I agree with it, to be honest.
You
I
don't agree
don't
with a symbolism play?
but because here's
I
the
don't
thing.
agree
So
with the punishment of someone trying to do their job because they come from a specific place. I
well,
take issue with the what was it a gymnast who put the Z on his clothing when during a medal ceremony?
Hmm.
Don't do shit like that.
Well, I mean, do you have problems with the raised fists? Like, I mean, these are the issues people have to ask themselves, right?
and
Where are
also,
people
just so you know,
landing
the
on these things?
WTA and the ATP are
Hmm.
not displaying the flag, Russian or Belarusian flags, for
Yeah,
any of those athletes. They're
but
just a
but
blank
we all
space.
know who they are. Come on, like it's
Right, but
weird.
I know we know it,
I
but I'm
never
just simply saying,
understand
so
that.
so they are partaking in part of the symbolism as well. But
I
they
mean,
just seem to think,
yeah, but
barring these players.
I don't like symbolism like this, right? Because for
Are we
me,
telling
it's
Israeli players not to come?
I mean, these are the questions. What are
Are
the
we
lines?
telling other,
What are the
like,
lines?
Exactly.
why is it
What are the
now? That's
lines?
like,
But
this is
again,
not
I agree.
concrete,
I
Yeah,
agree.
that's
which
I
is why I'm
agree.
saying I don't think it's effective.
well, I think so because it doesn't unify anyone towards a particular goal. It feels very arbitrary. It's an arbitrary position, while maybe valid and maybe gets. I think obviously Wimbledon and the UK are getting prize from their own population. A population agrees, right? This is great. This is a good thing. This is good form. That's fine. But from a body that's supposed to really think about the sport more broadly than their own country, it doesn't really stand out as a particularly strong position when it's just you taking it. It feels really odd to me and disconnected from any larger effort. It'd be one thing if the tennis bodies got together and say, we've come to these agreements as tennis bodies that we think sport is sacred. And we think athletes should be allowed to pursue what they're doing and their livelihood, regardless of what's going on in their own personal countries, blah, 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 which would have meant all kinds of ways that we were going to take it differently during some of the Shahar period, right? When different things were going on with her, right? Remember, it was very contested. But I think, I think the idea that tennis isn't political and that nations don't matter is like the underlying thing here that we just don't want to confront, which in some ways is related to what we just spoke about with Rafa and Spain, right? If it was another country's athlete doing some of these things, we'd be asking really difficult questions. Reels just made a big stance about what he thinks should be happening with other athletes. The same claim could be made about Spain and its doping policies, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Look, I'm not saying this is the most effective thing, but
Yeah, sure, but you have
I
to do
mean,
something
but
in your mind, right?
yeah, and I think and not just we are right to call out the hypocrisy with the Russian Ukrainian situation. We know how media is displayed. Which one gets the father, whatever. This shit is happening around the world. And we just talk about lives. People getting shot and killed. Women are getting raped,
Yep.
pillage. Food insecurity all around the world. This is what is happening as a result of this. Just war and genocide in general, and just speaking specifically on this situation with Russia, because of how global capitalism work, we have underdeveloped African countries and forced them to not feed themselves and grow their own food, but to buy from global markets to enrich, free trade, etc. That now they can't even feed themselves. And they now have to go to Russia and tell Russia, please let Ukrainian wheat leave the port of Mariupol so you can feed us. And guess what is happening? Russia is literally going in there and feeding themselves off of these people's farm, burning it down. So the food insecurity issue is about to explode bigger than we even aware at this point.
Yep.
So, I mean, yes, this seemed like a gesture. Like I said, we shouldn't even be having sports, right? Because all hands should be on deck to deal with these larger issues that are going on around the world, not just in the Russian-Ukrainian situation. But we're here. And I don't know what else can we do. But, I don't know
what would have been
if...
a more effective play? Because I agree. I think you agree with Wimbledon trying to make a play. And I'll let you close this out. What would have been a more effective play from a sports perspective, sporting body perspective?
Well, I think all sporting body in general should have come together and being like, I'm sorry, Russian and Belarusian athletes need to go home. You cannot be here. We cannot sit here and eat with you and break bread with you and supper like this is an agreement. We should be doing this to other countries as well. Israel, a lot of these, Boko Haram countries. I mean, like, again, I am not here to single out one. I mean, like, put all these people on a barrel and let them drift to sea. I mean, like, they're leaders. You know what I mean? Like, look.
I mean, so you think that sport is a gift that countries should be rewarded for playing?
Because
in some ways
we know how much the jingoistic patriotic nonsense is surrounding about sport. We are not just celebrating. Jamaica just does not celebrate Usain Bolt accomplishment because Usain Bolt is Usain Bolt.
Yeah,
they emboldened being Jamaica. Me Jamaican, me this, whatever. You know how that is, right? And the same thing with Russian, because one of the things that became apparent that swimming now has banned a few Russian athletes and tell them, look, y'all can't show up here and do this kind of nonsense. They are now being used as athletes. And in fact, one of the most interesting things, particularly with Russia, why I think countries have to ban Russian athletes and Belarusian athletes, those athletes become politicians.
Yeah, it is a journey. I mean, also, it's related to crazy shit. I mean, it's related to who comes and watches these people perform. And I know somebody said that once, remember, because I told you, I was like, I think it's weird when a political figure shows up at a tournament and gives a nod to that person, especially if that person is above the sporting body. Like, I'm always like, why is the king showing up here?
Right. Because people are asking questions, right? Because I know, because one of the reasons why nothing moved on that figure skating issue is because people knew war was coming. So they figured that this would appease them and let me tell you something, the Russian propaganda media went off on this nonsense. oh, they're just jealous of the Russian athlete, but they can answer none of the doping questions. None of the doping questions. Why the doctor was there,
Well,
etc., etc.
but
So
now you're just saying only some people. But we just made the case that only some people get
no,
asked doping questions, right?
no, no,
So
no,
I
no.
think we're
No,
not
that's
all
what I'm.
playing
No,
in the same field.
no, I'm just right. Exactly. I said that. That
Yep.
only certain. If Rafa were Russian, we would have been asking questions since 2005. There would
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah.
Right? People look.
Maybe.
Met
But I'm gonna
Davydenko
so
got thrown out of the fucking sport, and he wasn't even he never even got to a major finals.
Mm.
So I mean, I'm just simply saying that that
fair
this is
point.
not an easy conversation.
No,
But
it's
here's
not.
the thing: but war isn't easy,
No.
lives are being lost. And if we're gonna stay here and talk about proper decorum in terms of like we don't want to hurt their feelings, they're killing people. People are dying in countries around the
Well, I
world.
think, can I just say I think this is what's tricky about it, and then I know we need to wrap up, and it's to Janina's point, right? I think as much as people want to buy into your own individual pursuit, you do represent a nation. You know what I mean? Which is why I think when they take the flag down, I'm always like, I still know it in my mind, people. You know what I mean? And I guess there's really this tension between you being perceived as an individual wholly. Daniel Medvedev doesn't think he has anything to do with what's going on in Russian politics, right? And part of one of the critiques I've seen, which is fair, is that when our government does things, we as individual Americans sometimes don't feel like we have a hand in it, right? We don't really, we didn't agree with some of the choices that our leaders
And
make.
when the fuck are they telling us we can't go play somewhere?
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's that tension for people. I'm not saying it's true or right, but I mean, that's the tension is like, who gets to hold people accountable?
And
Who gets to be an individual citizen, an individual without their citizenship being called into question? Who gets all of those things lobbied? Like nobody told Americans where we could and couldn't go when
and
we
look,
were engaged in really poor actions. And I get that, right? Because I want to feel
Americans
like
should be
I'm
stopped too.
on my own steam, right? And so I guess, I mean, I just think at the end of the day, it's not an easy equation, but if it is, to your point, Reels, if it is war, sacrifices have to be made. And maybe all of us sacrificed sports. Is that the question? Because maybe if we were all sacrificing it, we would all feel some sense of camaraderie
I don't know.
together.
Yes.
It's just so convoluted what
Right?
the governing bodies want. At one point there was talk of, well, maybe Medvedev should denounce Putin publicly
Yeah,
so
which
that
was
we
like,
know.
and then
And
get
then
killed,
maybe we'll
maybe
let
when
him
he returned
play.
home. Like, why would
Right?
you even ask him to do that? What about
can't
his
do that.
family?
I don't care what he believes or not. He's fucked if he says he supports it. He's fucked if he says he doesn't. He's in a no-win situation regardless. But he sure as hell cannot say that he disagrees with it and ever be able to expect to set foot in Russia again and live.
But also,
Like,
no
why
one
are we
asked the
even doing
Chinese,
that?
and no one even asked Chinese players to do that. When the whole thing happened
No.
with China recently, everyone would recognize the danger of a player particularly taking a position. So none of the Chinese players were asked anything about Peng
Well,
Shui because
Like
it was we
everything's
all
just
understood.
so,
So I think it
and
is weird.
again,
Yeah.
this is bigger than this, and this is bigger than this, and this weighs more. And I'm
but
just,
still,
it's fucking stupid.
but
Wow.
here's the thing. I agree, and I was calling for the Olympics to be boycotted from China ages ago.
Yes,
Ages ago.
I mean, Reels is always on the side of let us just not give sport any time of day.
Anything.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing, though.
It's true.
We are facing not to
It's
be
a crisis. Yeah.
gloom and doom, whatever. We are facing many existential crises
Yep.
at the very same time.
Yeah.
All are very interlaid,
And we pick and choose who
interwoven,
we're going to
interconnected.
chastise.
Yes.
That is
Fair
true.
enough.
But here's the
enough.
thing. We cannot approach these things as normal diplomacy and talk
Yeah.
about I'm going to hurt his feelings and her feelings, because let me tell you something. American athletes should be banned from ever going anywhere but staying in this fucking country. Because we don't even treat American athletes are not even treated correctly in America.
Treat each other good.
You understand what I'm saying? We know who gets on the team. We know who will buy from teams, etc.
And
I
that
just
starts
say
at a
this to
very
see-
young age.
and I'm just sitting to say this because and what gets to decide these things and who gets to it are few men in rooms going
Mhm.
off about some bullshit, trying to relive themselves through these
I mean, we
athletes.
watched Hamilton.
You know, I didn't watch Hamilton. You did. You know,
We watched it enough for you.
that's good. Good for you. But you understand what I'm saying? And I say that we cannot at this point in time carry on as if it's business as usual to go about a lot of these things and any of these things. Because like I said, this Russian-Ukrainian crisis seemed like an isolated incident that people were ready to be like, oh, that's, Slavic bullshit, USSR. Putin just want to get back USSR. Africa is about to be on the brink of starvation again and again and again and again. And
don't
we are
care
not
about
trying
Africa,
to fix
though.
the...
Let's be, it doesn't have that same pull to the world.
And then we over here talking about gas prices, but yet some fucking idiots could be in a fucking truck top, but they're gonna go after try parade. At these gas prices, y'all are crying about, you are getting a U-Haul and driving someplace. Y'all should have been home knitting. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Okay. Okay, listen.
I don't understand.
We get you,
You
real.
understand what I'm saying? So for me, at the very least,
yep.
at the very least, I mean, like, I get it, that these athletes and whatever, your feelings are hurt and whatever. But here's the thing: I hear your hurt feelings, I hear your lost money, and I raise you lives.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll let that go. Okay. To round out the end, Wimbledon is coming up, y'all.
Oh, by the way, Coco looked the best. Just putting that out there.
In terms of outfits?
Best dress, Coco.
Well, actually, that was such a good dress to have to hold up a trophy. I know she held up a plate, but it was still a fabulous dress.
It is the trophy. It is the trophy.
Am I the only one here that didn't like it?
You didn't like the dress?
No,
Why?
I
You
don't
don't like
know.
the combo?
I mean,
It
it's
fell
New
all
Balance.
over the
On
place.
principle, this New Balance, we should never like New Balance.
No,
but it's
they
Coco,
do
so
a
we'll
good
make an
job.
exception.
Is it because you don't? Because I've seen you like some of these crazy outfits Serena wore, and I think that this improved that ballet look that Serena tried a couple years ago.
I thought the silhouette was amazing.
Yes.
And it looked great on her. I didn't like all this mixing of patterns and colors.
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit. That's what I didn't
Okay,
like.
fair enough.
Fair enough with that.
You like the ballet outfit, Janina? I hope you're gonna tell me no.
Serena's? No, I
Yeah,
didn't like. I mean,
okay.
it looked great
Good
in
answer.
pictures. It didn't look great on court.
It wasn't effective on court. But so I don't know if we want to get people used to us on a podcast again. Are we going to get together
stop
for Wimbledon?
it. We'll be here live for a Wimbledon draw with a theme, motherfuckers.
Janina is committing. We're committing.
I'm committing.
Listen, we're committing.
I'm excited about Wimbledon.
Janina, I hope you know this is out in the world, so you can't come tell me no.
Yes, bitch, yes.
Okay, so we listen. So I'm just gonna say,
when is that? No, I'm kidding.
I know we're gonna give a quick preview of the Wimbledon draw show. All I have to say is Emma Raducanu, get your lipsticks ready, girls and boys, because Emma Raducanu and Andy Murray had a wonderful little resurgence, which means the British press are going to be convinced that they're going to have a man's champ and a women's champ. So let's all pray for
they won't play mixed doubles together. Is that what it is?
No, I don't know. But let's play for the mantle of Andy Murray and poor Emma Raducanu, because the way the British are going to turn on these two and expect them to carry them over the hump.
Poor things.
Dan Evans is right there, though. I mean, he's problematic,
and
but
then
Dan
they're
Evans
gonna march
is right
them
there.
through the streets naked and throw shit at them like on Game of Thrones when they lose. And shame.
But you know what's funny?
Shame.
I wish the British press understood, because, I mean, the more they build up Emma, is the more Kanepi is gonna be like, "Girl, come, girl, come." You know what I mean?
All right, you guys, it's been fun.
It's just forget Emma exists. Don't talk about Emma and let her, treat her like at the US Open. Just let her wiggle her way through that tournament. Because trust me.
Stop it, Luke.
Listen, Angie already let y'all know that she's not on the Emma train. She's like, I won't do any praying for Emma. Sorry, not sorry. Listen, I'm not on the Emma train either. I'm on if I had to choose, it's not Emma. But I am going to really enjoy watching the British press really go crazy over the chances of these two. And because they've increased the likelihood that they have a good shot, because no Russians are playing. So there you go, Andy. We've cleaned up the draw for you.
Best of 5, though. I don't know how Andy going. Oh, 5 these things.
Listen, Andy, go to Rafa and ask how he did it on one foot. You too can do it on a hip.
On
a new hip.
Yeah.
Listen, ask the questions, honey. Call them up and say, honey.
You will be in Wimbledon, right? You will be at Wimbledon.
I will say I spontaneously bought tickets to Wimbledon when somebody shared a link and said, "Hey, you can buy tickets online." Did not know this was going to be possible, y'all. It turned out to be possible, and here you go. I'm going to be going on the 4th of July, celebrating America's founding in the UK, which is, I guess, appropriate. So I'm going to go see some tennis, and we'll see. We'll probably do a call from there. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what it means to not have Russians around after just
Genovia
savaging
Andy always
Wimbledon.
have an injury.
Yes, Andrew does have an injury. Which, Andy, it is always powerful to enter a tournament with an injury. Just go and look at our last lovely person who emerged from with a title having been injured. And I'm not talking about Rafa. I'm actually talking about Petra Kvitova. I remember when she came in with a, what is it? An ab injury and lift that trophy at the end of the 2 weeks. So anything is possible.
Venus.
I remember.
But but congratulations to Venus and Serena for opening their soft retirement. I mean, that is wonderful. Like, y'all are out here and everyone is dragging Patrick and whatever, and Patrick is with Simona. But let's see if WWT. I hope you can inspire me because the ATP ain't doing shit. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm back for the return of Carlos Alcaraz,
Yes.
a Spaniard to cheer. Apparently, the new one. The formula just now perfected. So we will be having Carlos. I know. And everyone can now settle down because there will be no opportunities for Zverev hate. And that is all good for us all, that we can clear our palate without any Sasha. He'll be returning most likely at the US Open because that injury was in a hospital bed. So that means less likely of us seeing Sasha.
So I'm just going to leave y'all with 2 thoughts and then we can wrap it up.
Please.
1, is Nole stuck at 20?
No. Absolutely not. Nole is priming himself for a resurgence. He's going to win. Listen, I mean, Nole needs your help, though, to stop Rafa from going for the calendar slam on 1 foot. So go ahead.
Okay. And the second question is, so Rafa is going to be at Wimbledon, correct? Because he's halfway through the calendar slam.
Of course. Why would he give up a chance of that?
Rafa will be at Wimbledon.
Do you all think Rafa is going to win Wimbledon?
No, but he'll be there.
I actually don't think. I think this is one of those moments where the surface has always been, especially week 1. If it depends on his draw. If he gets a draw like he usually gets after doing something amazing, and somebody decides to be in their feelings in the first week, I think you can eliminate him because I don't know. I think a numb foot is probably not going to be as good on grass.
Girl, the foot ain't numb. Moving on. Take that out of the equation. That is not a problem on the board.
No, you know what? It all depends on the draw because not everybody is competent on grass. That's really ultimately the thing for me. So it depends on how. I think if he's there in week 2, he's definitely getting to the final.
No, he ain't winning.
I don't know though.
Who's going to stop him though? I mean, like you say that, but who will stop him?
Somebody will stop him.
Who's that somebody?
Grass is not Rafa's thing.
But who is that somebody though?
No. Berrettini with that weak back. No,
girl, I mean.
Well, these questions.
Hey, maybe it'll be Felix. Maybe it'll be like.
Listen, maybe Uncle Tony will say Felix here, or maybe this is a coming of age moment for Felix, and Felix says, "You know what? I'm good on this damn surface."
It's probably going to be Alcaraz.
Nah, Alcaraz.
Someone young. He's probably not.
I will tell you,
Sinner.
It won't be a Spanish.
I'm going to tell y'all right now. Icarus flew close to the sun, and I think Rafa figured out how to keep the wax from melting. He's going to win Wimbledon.
Bye.
I'm telling you. I am telling you.
Listen,
I am telling you.
He's not winning.
Because I think, okay, all right.
I don't think we're going down that road, but your questions suggest that we will have some questions at our Wimbledon draw show.
Yes,
I'm looking
we will.
forward to whatever
guess what?
team we land
I am
on.
back in the office, so I could print for free.
Oh, so you'll actually fill out your draw?
I filled it out last time. God damn it. I did. I really did.
Did you have Rafa winning the title or no?
At the Australian Open. I don't care about the French. But I have Rafa.
You're horrible.
I had Medvedev, and Medvedev had me for a while at the Australian Open. And then Medvedev said he got imposter syndrome. That's why they don't invite you to Wimbledon. That was why they said, no, you're not coming to Wimbledon.
ATP, please stand up. I will say sit down and numb your legs. That's probably a better play.
All right.
So we
your
will.
Shoulders, boo. Shoulders. Do shoulders, boys. Shoulders.
Don't skip.
Drop those
Don't
bombs.
skip. Don't skip
I
shoulder
mean,
day is what Reels is saying. Forget leg day. Berrettini is
exactly.
already
Some
on
of us
it.
can't. We can't save the legs, but I'm just saying shoulders. Get those aces in play.
Well,
So,
I'm looking
boys and
forward to it.
girls, ladies, I'm
It's
so
been
happy
fun.
that we've been fun here. Janina, make sure that we can do this more often. It is, just saying.
Yes, dear. Yes.
Okay.
We have
God
missed you.
damn.
It is all
Yes,
good.
it is fun. And I
Listen,
miss
we're just
all
gonna tune in
fans.
like everyone and just do the slams, okay? Because our lives are too busy. And as Reels points out, we are in the midst of a catastrophe. Catastrophe. Please don't hate us because we can't do tennis.
C's, there's an S.
I
And
know.
I say,
Mm.
All
oh,
right.
and there's also the possibility, just throwing it out there, that we might all be in DC at the same
Ooh.
time.
Yes.
So we might do a
Yes.
live audience, Reels live taping. I mean,
A
I don't know where we're
real.
going to
Oh,
have it, but
shit.
Oh,
and then you
yes.
have to put on makeup.
We're going to the
Who
nation's
does?
capital.
You have to put on makeup.
Why? I'm fucking
If we
cute
have a-
without it. Shut up.
We're going to the nation's capital to see Sloane capture her slam, their City
Oh,
Open
Lord.
slam, and maybe TFO capturing his City Open slam.
If we
So-
survive, because the food is horrible, so we might just die of starvation.
Oh my god.
Between inflation, gas prices, supply chain issues, I mean,
Right.
and the heat. So,
Luke, it was lovely to see you. Zenobia was fabulous as well. Thank you all for
Tony,
popping in.
Angie,
Angie, Tony, and Bree, even though we went hard. Hopefully
They
it wasn't
left.
too crazy.
Lucky
Fine.
Lang, you're here,
Mhm.
and to Olia, to
Some
Olita.
wonderful points. Yep. Listen,
I saw O here. I saw, we said Luke, and
fabulous.
the other people, BF and Parma Mac.
Yes,
Is that
Parma
Parma
Mac
mac
made
and
some
cheese?
really great. Parma, I think your point about
And Dante
what
Taylor.
what
Is that
poor
Deb?
Felix should feel like is really sad.
No.
But I appreciate it.
C'est moi. Christopher Doyle is here.
It's
Oh,
fabulous.
wow.
That was
Janina,
wonderful.
you didn't do your job today. You weren't looking at the chat.
Oh.
You were typing in the chat, but you were not.
All right. Let's round you all up
Good
now.
night.
Yes.
All right,
Good night,
so-
everyone. Good night.
Have a
Good night. Good
lovely
night.
Sunday.
And we did a
Bye-bye.
very tight 1 hour and 56 minutes. So,
Perfect.
Right on target. Right on target.
My 90-minute target told you exactly right. 2 hours.
Because you
All
had
right.
scheduled for 2 hours.
Perfect. Of course I did.
Good night, good evening, and have a good day. Oh, wait, and we can say
Pitiful.
So bad.
Pitiful.
Ciao.
ciao.